welcome back to the channel and the first vlog of the new year. So in the past couple of weeks, find out what I've been getting up to start 2026 and what's coming ahead. As is customary on a Saturday morning, I've decided to go to parkrun. So it's the first one of the year actually, and I'm going to get back into my old routine really. I'm running down to Conkers, which is about 5k, to warm up, having a little bit of a steady kind of tempo effort at Conkers, so it's a bit quicker than the run down, but not quite a session. And then running back will give me 9 miles, maybe 10 miles depending on the route I take back for the day, and just boosting that mileage really for the goals I've got coming up.
And we're underway at parkrun, and the goal today was to just push it a little bit quicker than my easy run pace that I ran down. So I ran down at about 8-minute miles. I wanted to do something that was about 7-minute miles, which is a little bit slower than I've been doing parkrun at recently, but it was one that I could progress and have a decent run out really at parkrun. So we're heading up the hill here. I've dropped back into probably about 15th position, and really in a good position that I'm not pushing myself too hard, but the aim of the day is to do more of a steady run than a tempo, and probably 30 seconds per mile slower than I've been trying to do this. So still on the first mile here, and this section we've got a few puddles on here having to dodge, but it's the best part of the parkrun for me. It's slightly downhill on the disused railway, and you find that it's a little bit easier to run than on the flats. Just coming towards the end of the 1 mile here and going in towards Cheeky Hill. So this is my worst section of the parkrun. Not very good at hills, and this is quite a steep one. It tends to take a bit of a wind up my sails, and it takes me a little bit of a time after getting to the top of this hill to then recover down the hill and get to the halfway point of the parkrun, which heads out towards the canal. So after we've got to the top of Cheeky Hill, there's a little bit of a descent that goes out towards the canal, and this is about the halfway point of the parkrun. You can usually just recover from going up Cheeky Hill, take a right here, and then you've got a little bit more of a downhill coming up. So once you've turned the corner and go towards the next marshal, there's another downhill section which is quite nice too, before you then do climb up another hill.
Thank you, Marshall.
So this next section, there was a little bit of a hill which we climbed, called that Sneaky Hill rather than Cheeky Hill, because it just seems to creep up on you that you're going up that hill, but it's not too steep. And then we do join the main trail again, so that second mile was a little bit of a loop round, and we pass all the runners who are just coming to the end of the first mile and heading up Cheeky Hill here. And I don't really like this section of the parkrun. I find it quite hard because you've got a little bit of a hill to climb. It's good to see everyone going the other way, but it does feel like this mile is a lot harder work than the other 2 miles of the parkrun, with it just being very gradually uphill for that last mile. I suppose whatever does go up does come down, so not really have too much to complain about, because I've benefited from that slight descent in the first mile of the parkrun, which I've then got to come back up in that last mile. So here we are, just got to the end of the parkrun. We're just rounding the corner, and there's a bit of a downhill section now before we get to the finish straight. So this is quite good really. The last 400 metres or so of the parkrun is very much just a downhill to the finish, before you then take a right underneath the old tunnel and back onto the finish line here. So you know, once you've got here, you're really close to finishing. And I'm just coming left round the corner, and I'll be finishing a time of bang on 22 minutes.
So the last 2 weeks of my training, not including this week, have been very similar, to be honest. I've done about 40 miles of running, and I've done a little bit of cross training, so a couple of bike sessions and a couple of swims in the week. And I've done, in terms of sessions, because the intensity is the biggest part of the week, you could run 40 miles and it'd just be easy running and be a fairly easy week. But I've tried to do, gone out with the intention of trying to build up to 2 hard sessions per week. So this would be an interval session with some shorter reps and a tempo session with some longer or some more continuous running in there. So I've only really managed one of those each week on the Tuesday. It hasn't really gone exactly to plan either. So I'm conscious that towards the end of last year, kind of after the marathon, tapering into the marathon really, I didn't do a great deal of running and struck down by a bit of an illness really that a lot of people had during December and over Christmas time, that I was feeling very fatigued, couldn't really shift a cough and a cold, but every time it had gone after about a week or so, it then seemed to come back with a vengeance as soon as I tried to do sessions again. So it's been quite a frustrating period, and I just wanted to really build up my distance and build up that intensity back into training. I want to get back into that routine, like I said, of doing the sessions and doing a good mileage in the week. So whilst I've been building my miles up and that training intensity again, I've been trying to supplement this with a bit of cross training in my swimming and cycling to add to my aerobic fitness, and this has come with a few problems in itself. So with cycling, like with doing any exercise that you've not done for a while, this is a classic example of people who go to the gym and then you'll get DOMS, your delayed onset of muscle soreness if you're doing some exercises that those muscles you might not have used for 5 or 10 years. They really ache after the first use again, and I think that's what I'm having to push through with cycling at the moment, which is causing a few issues on my hips. That before in December I stopped the cycling because my quads were getting tight in the build up to the marathon. So I think I've really just got to persist with the cycling, push on through this, but I don't get these DOMs anymore. It will go in 2 or 3 weeks if I keep that consistent routine. And the answer to this DOMs, well, I can still add some aerobic fitness. My optimal exercise to do really is swimming, because I'm very limited on where I do get this DOMs, and it doesn't affect me in areas that are muscle groups that I use for running. So it's really only my shoulders and use the core a lot in swimming that is really going to be aching and testing my muscles. So I can really do, not saying swim every day, but a lot more swimming than the cycling really to supplement my fitness. But then the barrier to swimming for me, really the big one, is the pool time and the hours that I really have to plan my week around getting the swimming and prioritising that over running, because the pool timetable is very limited at the local leisure centre that I'm at. Where am I going to go from here? With 40 miles a week, one session, really want to get to 2, and I want to get more quality in those sessions. And I think for the next couple of weeks I've really just got to persist with my current training, the cross training, try and get a couple of swims and a couple of bikes in a week, but not overdo it that I'm causing myself some muscle soreness. Well, I mean, soreness is okay, but that can't develop into any injuries that keep me out of my running, because the main thing is for running and to stay consistent with that, and anything I do around that is to keep me running more and just add a little bit of aerobic fitness to it. So could do a little bit more mobility in terms of warming up for runs, particularly around sessions. I still do that for sessions, but I tend to just go out the door for my easy runs. So maybe that's something while I'm struggling, is to spend maybe 10 minutes before my run getting those hips and glutes activated, thinking about my running technique, that I'm not dragging sort of my legs along from my hips and that I'm running with a real smooth motion, and that will really help not put too much load on those stabilising muscles that seem to be hurting me at the moment. And the ideal really is what I've the gold standard I've been aiming for in the last couple of years really is to get about 2 hard sessions a week and as much easy mileage as I can. It's the sort of Frank Shorter philosophy, but I mean, he's probably running 120 to 150 miles a week back in his day, and a very quick sort of 210, maybe even quicker marathon runner. So if it works for him, I'm probably going to adapt it a little bit for me, but for me, I'm thinking 2 hard sessions and 60 to 70 miles a week would be a really good effort for me. If I can sprinkle in a bit of cross training around that, I'm going to be well on my way to improving my fitness and improving my race times. In terms of races coming up, so I don't want to put any pressure on myself with some goals that I may or may not hit. I will have something in the back of my mind going into each race, but the main thing is to get the training right. So the end goal really is a marathon in Boston, Lincolnshire in the middle of April. But building up to this, I've got a 16.45 mile run at Naseby in the middle of Feb. And then in the middle of March, as is customary really, I've got the Ashby 20 and the chance to get another coloured hoodie, a cheese cob and a Titan bar at the end, which always goes down well, and I enjoy that race. Seeing so many local club runners out on course. It's organised by our friends at Ashby Ivanhoe Runners, so I really do enjoy doing Ashby 20, and if I'm free I'll make time to do it. I think I've got 6 or 7 in the bag now, maybe 5 or 6 actually. I think we had 1 year where we missed because of COVID, but I've certainly got a good rainbow of hoodies. And the good news for the training is that it is picking up a bit this week, but by the end of Saturday I've already matched my 40 mile total that I've done in previous weeks without doing my long run, and I do intend on getting up to the half marathon distance for my long run tomorrow, so we'll see how I get on.
I feel like this week has been a really positive week, especially looking back at the last 6 weeks or so that I haven't been able to do what I've wanted to running wise. So if I'm looking at December, I've probably averaged about 25 miles a week through this period. I then had 2 weeks back in the new year where I've upped this mileage to 40, but still not been quite there with the sessions. And whilst I don't think that the sessions were very good this week, and I want to then build it back in, at least for mileage and a bit of a cross training has been back to where it should be. So I've done 55 miles this week, which is the highest mileage I've done since before the marathon, so in quite a long while, probably 2 months or so now. So it's the highest mileage I've done, the longest run, with Sunday's run being just shy of 14 miles. So I feel like the long run is going back in the right direction. I've done one session which I was slightly disappointed with, but at least I got outside and did it in the park, which my sessions have been very limited to the treadmill. It's not given me an accurate representation of actually how I'm running. So whilst I did the first rep of the session in the interval, an okay sort of pace that I wanted to, I did then tail off towards the end of the session, but I need to keep at it, keep sticking at it, and get these sessions and the paces back to where I want them, and that'll only come with just keep showing up and keep doing the sessions. I want to try and get that tempo session back in, which is probably going to be done at a park run. So I want to keep with the routine of trying to go on that Saturday park run there, get a bit of a tempo effort in round at park run, and then run back, which this week was 22 minutes, my tempo effort. That is going to come down in the coming weeks really as I get fitter. If I keep up this kind of training, keep on working on the sessions too alongside the weekly mileage, that time's going to come down to be 20 minutes and under at a tempo effort. So I'm quite confident that that's going to happen as long as I keep showing up and putting the effort in. I also feel that the cross training is benefiting me, so getting out with the cycling and going for a swim are having some positive impacts on my fitness, as long as it's not impacting on, as I've spoken about earlier, about making different muscles sore, which I've just got to push through. Which the cycling, I got 3 hours in on the bike this week, which is good. It just adds to my aerobic base, which means that I don't have to necessarily do quite as much mileage to get the same benefit as doing just the easy runs there. So that's going to help my running, and swimming helps on the recovery side. That again, I can get a little bit more aerobic work in. I can work some muscles that I'm not particularly using within running, like your back and your shoulders, which have minimal sort of use in the running, and helping my core, helping my general fitness too, without adding any actual wear and tear on the joints, because I'm not pounding on the pavements, or I'm not sort of pushing down on the pedal. It's a lot lighter than the other two forms of exercising. So I'll keep that in as much as I can, and look to do similar sort of mileage next week, but really look to hammer those sessions. That I want to get 2 quality sessions ticked off next week. I don't care what the mileage is going to be, as long as I get those quality sessions ticked off. Going into next week, I'm actually away at the weekend, which is going to change my running plans around a little bit next week. So I'll still try and keep the long run in, even if it means doing it on one night of the week. So potentially this could be the Friday night, and then have the 2 days off over weekend, but try and sort of condense my training into those 5 days. So I know it's going to be tough in those 5 days, but I've got more of a relaxing weekend to look forward to without the running. And to be honest, for the last few weeks I've been having 1 or 2 rest days a week, so mileage wise should look pretty similar. But as long as I tick off those 2 sessions of a long run within the 5 days, I'm going to be happy with that week. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, you'll get the notification of the new video when it drops, and I'll see you in next week's video.